Yo, people. Okay, so I've been on a week ban, YouTube ban, got another strike for doing a video, which I won't say what the video was, but it's a certain subject that it got taken down instantly. I got a ban and a strike. Certain subjects, that's what happened. So I'll put it on BitChute and I'll put it in a link below this. But what I want to talk about in this quick video today is like, I realised what's happening with the Israel-Palestine thing here. Now, bear in mind, like, I woke up in 2013. 2014, I was on a march in London, 250,000 people, Free Palestine march. We started at the BBC for their in reference to their biased views to Israel over the Israel-Palestine conflict. 250,000 people ended up in Hyde Park. Big speeches, blah, blah, blah. Peaceful protests, no arrests. And I looked in the news the next day and there was virtually no press on it. Like, there was a little column in one of the papers, but virtually no press. So I realised then, like, that the media controls the narrative, and if it's in the media, it's because they want it to be. And if they don't want it to be in the media, they won't put it in the media. It's that simple. So this leads on to, why is Israel-Palestine conflict in the media now? Because they hid it previously, or they've given a certain view. So to me now is what they're doing is it's a distraction. You know, it's a distraction from all of what's going on with the lockdown and the pandemic. And it's a distraction from that, and it's also more divide and conquer, because, you know, are you Israel, are you Palestine? Now, you know, it's not about against Israeli people, because there's obviously good Israeli people that understand what's going on. It's about the state of Israel and what it stands for. Now, I'll give you a quick I'll give you a quick rundown on, if you don't know, of what the Israel-Palestine thing's about. Because it used to be Palestine. And then in 1917, the British, who owned it at that point, signed over with a thing called the Balfour Declaration to Israel and the Rothschilds and the State of Israel, and created State of Israel. Now, Israel was officially born in 1948. So since that time, 1948, that's when they've been taking the land off the Palestinians. And if you look at, there's a certain map, and you can see that the land's just gone from all Palestinian to basically the Gaza Strip. Now, this isn't to say that the Palestinians are, you know, the war thing. Like, I'm not going to going to get involved and say, well, Palestinians are perfect people or whatever. All peoples are good and bad. But ultimately, Israel has taken the land from the Palestinians, and that's a fact. So that's the sort of rundown. And I mentioned this in my Soul Power 75 song, False Media, which again I'll put a link to this, and that's why I put I put in there the reference to the Rothschilds and the Israeli flag and the Balfour, and I put a piece with the Balfour Declaration, because the British ultimately signed that over to the Rothschilds and Israel, and created that in 1917, the Balfour Declaration, and then in 1948 Israel was created, and that is what's become known as Israel now. So the fact that they're even talking about that in the press now, after hiding it, is because they want you to look at this, and it's another distraction from what's going on. And what I noticed, like, because I noticed straight away within the truth movement, people sort of like going on Palestine, Israel, like, you know, straight away it was another divide, you know what I mean? But it's like, so I noticed what's going on is that, I see Paul Pogba for Man United walk out of a Palestinian flag. Now, Paul Pogba's a puppet, you know, his manager, it is part of it, and so, like, you know, he's going to suggest he does this and does that. Paul Pogba's no freedom fighter. Suddenly he's walking out on the pitch with a Palestinian flag. Now, the reason why, so I'm like, that's weird. That's more like distraction. I don't trust Pogba. He works for the system. But then I saw some signs pop up on someone's feed, and it was about like, because apparently there's some gay rights issue in Palestine, and I see someone's feed talking about like queers for Palestine, and then I googled that and I realised there's loads of like LBGTQ, whatever it is, queers for Palestine thing. And I realised what they're doing is they're tying in the Palestine thing with BLM, hence Paul Pogba, and the gays thing. So they're tying the Palestine thing in with the left. In other words, if you're right wing and you are more conservative, you especially in America, you support Israel. That, you know, if you're a Trump supporter, you got to support Israel. You got to do this. If you're a left person, you got to support Palestine, and that's not how it works. Do you know what I mean? It's like each thing is right or wrong, and you work out what's going on. You don't. If you support BLM, you don't support. You know, you support. You don't just support things because you sort of thing, but that's what they're tying it in with. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't support BLM because that's part of the system, but I do support the rights of the Palestinian people. Like I said, I'm not against Israeli people because a lot of they're just people, but it's Israel and what they've done and their governments and what the state of Israel has been doing. And that's not even going into the full depths of it. But ultimately, the Rothschilds banking family is tied in with Israel. And they're part of that. So like, yeah, so I just realised that that's what's happening. So I just wanted to drop that. Yeah, like hopefully this won't get a strike or a ban for talking about Israel. But that's what's going on. So just be aware of that divide and conquer with that. And also, you know, do your research on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Because, yeah, it's not what the media will make out that it's an equal war, which it's not. It's basically Israel taking and Palestinians trying to defend themselves. But they won't tell you that because the BBC is completely biased. Anyway, I just thought I'd drop that. Peace!